All right, welcome everyone. Let's jump right into this deep dive, shall we? Today, we're tackling the rise and fall of TikTok star OnlyJayus.
You mean Isabella Avila?
Yeah, exactly, Isabella Avila. But like, everyone knows her as OnlyJayus, right?
Right.
And honestly, her story, it's wild. Went from like total internet stardom to, well, not so much. We're basically trying to figure out how it all went wrong. And our main source for all of this is this YouTube video essay.
Oh, yeah.
It's called The Satisfying Downfall of OnlyJayus
Mm.
by this channel called Internet Anarchist. It's pretty intense.
Oh, I bet. You know, what's so crazy about OnlyJayus is that it's not just like your typical influencer mess up, you know? It kind of makes you think about how we like get so invested in these people online.
Yeah, like parasocial relationships and all that.
Exactly. And how easily that trust can be broken and like
Right.
the internet never forgets. So
True. Okay, so let's rewind back to, it's like 2018. OnlyJayus is just starting out on TikTok, right? All those fun fact videos and life hacks.
Oh, for sure. That kind of stuff was like guaranteed to go viral back then. Super easy to watch, and everyone loves feeling like they learned something new.
And then there was that whole Best Buy thing.
Oh, yeah, where she got fired.
Yeah, for wearing her uniform in her videos. And somehow, that just boosted her career.
It's crazy how sometimes, like, a setback can actually be a good thing.
I know. It made her seem like this rebel, someone who didn't play by the rules.
And that image totally worked for her, especially with younger audiences.
So then she goes from TikTok to YouTube, starts making longer videos, like these deep dives into all sorts of stuff. Hypnosis, aliens, like really thought-provoking stuff.
Smart move, honestly. People love that kind of content. It taps into our curiosity.
Yeah, for sure. And her viewership just explodes. She even gets a Netflix podcast.
Oh, really?
And a sponsorship deal with Tinder. It was like peak influencer success.
Seriously, that's like making it big time.
But then everything changes. 2021, racism accusation.
Oh, right. That's when things started going downhill.
This other TikToker basically found these old messages from like 2016. OnlyJayus had sent some seriously offensive stuff.
We're talking like full-on racial slurs, right?
Yeah, it was bad. And her response, not great.
I remember that. Her apology video just felt off.
Super insincere. It felt like she was more worried about protecting her image than actually understanding what she'd done wrong.
And when your whole career is built on like being relatable and authentic, that kind of disconnect, it can really hurt you.
Yeah, definitely. So the internet is already pretty upset about the racism thing and then plagiarism accusations.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
And it wasn't just like a little bit of borrowing. This was like copying entire YouTube videos.
From Reddit posts, I heard.
Yeah. And even mimicking other TikTok videos word for word. People started questioning if she was even like creative at all.
It's a big deal, right? If you're supposed to be an expert, but you're just stealing other people's work.
Totally. And then there's this whole incident where someone called her out, asked her to prove that she actually used a source from Reddit.
What happened?
She faked a screenshot.
Oh, no. That's even worse.
I know. It just made everything look even more shady. So now you've got these two massive controversies, and everyone is turning against her.
And online, once that happens, it's hard to come back from it.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, what does this mean for her career? Where does she go from here? That's what we'll be talking about next.
Yeah, it's like once something's on the internet, it's there forever.
Right. Like that whole digital footprint thing.
Exactly. And with OnlyJayus, it kind of felt like people were just waiting for her to mess up again.
Yeah, like anything she did was going to be under a microscope.
Totally. And the internet can be so quick to judge sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not always fair, you know?
Definitely. Like sometimes it feels like the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Right. It's that whole cancel culture thing we always hear about.
Okay, so our source actually highlights this one example that really shows how bad things had gotten for her.
What was that?
The whole service dog video?
Oh, yeah, right? The free wallet video.
Yeah, it was not a good look, especially after everything else that had happened.
Like, people were already on edge with her, and then she makes this really dark joke.
Yeah, basically saying that you could follow a loan service dog and, like, find its owner in trouble and then steal their wallet.
Oh, I remember that. I mean, that kind of joke has been around forever, but, like, with her...
The timing was just awful.
Oh, yeah. After the racism and plagiarism stuff, it just felt like she was making fun of people with disabilities.
Right. And even if she didn't mean it that way.
It came across as super insensitive.
Especially because, like, she hadn't really addressed the other controversies in a meaningful way.
It made it seem like she just didn't care.
Or like that she hadn't learned anything.
Exactly, and it just added fuel to the fire.
It was like everything she did was being interpreted in the worst possible light.
And it's tough because, like, yeah, she messed up, but
It felt like people were looking for reasons to be mad at her.
right, it became this whole thing about her character, you know?
She was the villain in everyone's story.
And it's hard to come back from that.
So I guess, like, zooming out a bit, what can we learn from all of this? As people who, like, watch this stuff online and participate in these conversations.
That's a good question. I think it's a reminder that, like, the internet is a powerful tool, but it can also be really toxic.
For sure. Like, it can bring out the best and the worst in people.
And we all have a responsibility to try to make it a healthier space.
Yeah, like to be more mindful of what we say and do online.
Because it all has an impact.
Like we're all connected in this weird digital world.
And our actions have consequences.
So yeah, let's all try to be a little bit kinder, a little bit more understanding.
And maybe a little bit less quick to judge.
Okay, so we've talked about the controversies, the backlash, the downfall. But let's like shift gears a bit and think about the bigger picture here.
Okay, yeah. What do you mean?
Like this whole OnlyJayus thing
Yeah.
really makes you think about the relationship between creators and their audiences.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, who has the power in that dynamic?
Exactly. And it's all playing out on these platforms that are constantly changing.
Yeah, and they have their own agendas, too.
Right. It's like everyone's trying to figure out the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, whose fault is it when things go wrong?
Yeah.
You know?
Right, is it the creator or the audience or maybe like the algorithm itself?
It's so weird because it feels like everyone has some control, but no one is really in charge.
Yeah, and these platforms are designed to like keep us scrolling, keep us engaged.
So they show us stuff that's going to get a reaction.
Exactly, and like outrage is a powerful emotion. It spreads like wildfire.
Which is why we see these huge blowups online.
And everyone's quick to jump on the bandwagon.
And it becomes this whole mob mentality thing.
Nuance goes out the window.
And that's kind of the scary part about cancel culture.
It makes people afraid to say anything, afraid to mess up.
Because the internet never forgets.
Right. It's like you have to be perfect all the time or else...
And that's just not realistic.
It shuts down important conversations.
Like, we need to be able to disagree with each other without, like, hating each other.
Right. We need to be able to make mistakes and learn from them.
And, like, even with OnlyJayus, it's not so simple.
Yeah, she did some messed up stuff, but there's a whole story there.
So instead of just canceling people, maybe we should try to understand the bigger picture.
Totally. Like, what led to those mistakes? What can we learn from this?
How can we create a better online environment?
Where people feel safe to be themselves.
And to grow and change.
Yeah, I think it starts with each of us, like, taking responsibility for our own actions.
Being mindful of what we say and do online.
Remembering that there are real people on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, and like choosing kindness over hate.
Choosing understanding over judgment.
It's not always easy, but it's worth it.
Because the internet has so much potential for good.
If we could just figure out how to use it the right way.
Well said.
So yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap things up.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the crazy world of OnlyJayus.
It's been real.
It's been a wild ride, that's for sure.
Definitely a lot to think about.
And hopefully, this is just the start of the conversation.
Absolutely. There's always more to learn.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, keep the conversation going, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.